Great, great. So I want to thank everybody so much for your time today. I know it's the middle of a work day, but I'm really, really excited to have your attention and honored to be able to share what I believe is some really, really cool tools and important information around a book that I just launched. So uh, once again, thank you so much. I'm going to go through some information here for about a half hour and then open it up for questions. If you do have a question, if you can please use the chat box. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I can see the chat box. So any questions, comments throughout the presentation, want this to be very free flow, and interrupt if you have a question. I'd be happy to answer. So my name is Brian Scrone. I am one of the co-founders of Board Meetings, Family Board Meetings, and I am really excited to announce that I've just released a book in the last week called What Matters Most, Finding Your Focus with the 5 Fs. And I feel really honored and humbled. The book's only been out for a week, and it went to #1 in a couple categories in both Canada and the US. And I don't share that with you to brag. I share that with you to say thank you. I'm so honored and humbled, and obviously the message is connecting with people. So after the webinar is over, Jennifer on my team will follow up with you, get you a link to the free copy of the book as well. So let's get started. Just a little bit of background. My goal here is to relate to some of the common problems that I think the majority of all humans are dealing with, and that is figuring out how we can best invest our time, right? Figuring out what matters most. So just bear with me. The takeaway here is to take a step back and say, before we worry about what's next, let's figure out what matters most for you. So I have found in giving talks around the 5 Fs, and the 5 Fs are faith, fitness, family, friends, and finance. And we're going to go into a little bit of depth on each one of those in the webinar, and then obviously give you a free copy of the book for joining us, and then you can go as deep as you'd like at your pace. But before we worry about what's next, let's figure out what matters most for you. And I think that, and I've found from experience, not only with myself and family and friends, but in interviewing tons of very successful and busy entrepreneurs, and as well as our clients at our family board meetings retreat, some of my real estate investors, we're really, really busy. But the reality is that we all have the same 16 waking hours in the day, and no one can really argue that, right? God's giving us 24 hours in a day, and if you're listening to your doc and you're getting about 8 hours of sleep, then we got about 16 hours to play with every day. So with that said, my goal with the book and over the next few minutes together on the webinar is to give you some tools to think about around those 5 relationships, the 5 Fs, which are, again, and I'll repeat them a few times just to drive them home: faith, fitness, family, friends, and finance. And once we start to look at each day and think about what it is that matters most to us, we'll see that in those 16 waking hours, we can start to get crystal clear on our priorities, and then we're going to invest our time accordingly. The problem today is that a lot of people, there's a congruency gap or a disconnect between, what people, and myself included, again, when I created all this, what we're telling ourselves are our priorities, and then how we're investing our time. So to give you an example of that for me, and to be transparent with you, I was telling myself that my faith was paramount among those things. And I found myself, if I was lucky, I was getting 5 minutes of downtime, or what I call meditation a day, if I was lucky, and very inconsistent. So once I started to create these systems and started sharing these tools with people, I see that it worked. And so I'm so excited to share with you today some of the things that are going to help you figure out what matters most for you. And I'm not here to prescribe. It's very subjective. Those 5 relationships are going to be prioritized for you and wherever you're at in your life. And just to be clear, there's no right or wrong way. The way I prioritize them could look apples and oranges to how you do. But I do know that these 5 relationships are absolutely universal. They're timeless. Everyone's touching them. And everyone, as far as I can see from interviewing, again, thousands of people over the last 20 years in business, is everyone would like to have more of a freedom of time or better way to manage their time, because it's an it's an even playing field out there, right? I always say, I have 16 waking hours, my 3-year-old does, the homeless guy that lives under the bridge in Jacksonville, Florida, and the President of the United States. So if the playing field is even, and we can get crystal clear on our priorities, it's just going to allow those 5 relationships, the 5 F's, to be much more enjoyable, and we can approach each day with a lot more ease. So let's look at the first F, and it is faith. And the way that I present them is the way that I prioritize them, but again, I want to be crystal clear. That does not make it right or wrong, and it's not necessarily the way it will work for you. One of the tools that I'll share in the book, and actually you can get it off of my website, a free download of it, is this simple 5 F's priority management tool that I will share. It takes about 5 minutes to go through, and it will give you real crystal clarity on how you are prioritizing your 5 F's and then how you're going to invest your time. So let's talk a little bit about faith to begin. It's the first of the 5 F's that I'll talk about today. And what faith is for me has nothing to do with religion, and I talk about that in depth in the book. It has nothing to do with religion or dogma. It is 100% a subjective and personal relationship with you and yourself and whatever your higher power is. I call it God, but that does not make it right or wrong. Whatever your relationship is with your higher power, or whatever religion that you are comfortable with, I'm not here to judge that. I'm here to try and help you go a little deeper with yourself through self-love and forgiveness. So nothing great happens without self-love, and it's the highest and truest form of spirituality in my humble opinion. And in the front half of the book, I go into pretty great detail on some of the trouble that I got myself into as a child in New Jersey growing up. And really all culminated about the time I turned 21 years old. I was just graduating college and moving out west for my first independent experience away from family and friends and home life, where I grew up in New Jersey. And I, just to be transparent with you again, got into a tremendous amount of trouble. Basically from the time I was 13 until I was about 23 was a lot of trouble. I was drinking and drugging. I started selling drugs. That all culminated when I was about 21 years old in getting a couple different girls pregnant in a 6-month time frame. And both of those pregnancies resulted in 2 abortions. And that whole 6-month time frame and those experiences and going through that with those 2 young ladies was the deepest, darkest time of my life, hands down. I was completely depressed. I was self-loathing. I was telling myself I was evil. I grew up in a Catholic environment, so abortions and Catholicism do not go hand in hand, and there was just a tremendous amount of fear and guilt, and the farthest thing from self-love. Unfortunately for me, I hit that rock bottom, and it became it was a crisis when I was going through it, but it became an incredible opportunity to grow, to learn about self-love, to forgive myself, to ask for help. And I know for a fact that everybody has a story out there. I'm hoping yours isn't as radical and deep and dark as mine, but here's the reality. Everyone has crap that they've dealt with in the past. Everyone has things that they are either have forgiven themselves or still trying to forgive themselves for. So what I want to do is just give you some simple tools over the next few minutes to help you start and continue and maintain and sustain that happiness that you so much deserve. So when it comes to faith, and I talk about this tool in the book, and each one of the 5 F's that we'll talk about today, I just want to share a real simple tool with you that you can start using immediately and use every day for the rest of your life. Excuse me. So the tool I want to share with you around faith is a $2 investment. I have nothing to do, or I'm not invested in this company, but if you have a smartphone, which everyone does today, there is a really cool app that you should definitely download on your phone. Do it immediately if you can. It's called Simply Being. I promise you it will be the best $2 you ever spent. It is a self-guided meditation, and yes, there's probably hundreds or thousands of applications out there for, meditation and wellness. Try this one. It's $2. It's not a big risk, and I use it on a daily basis. I've shared it with thousands of people, from real estate stages that I speak on, to our family board meetings, retreats, to very different environments. And the overwhelming majority of people always come back and thank me and say same thing: best $2 I ever spent. It's a simple self-guided meditation tool. Only rule with it is definitely, number one is use it on a daily basis. Get somewhere quiet in the morning and give yourself that space. And this is all tying back to your faith and that self-love that I was talking about. Until you give yourself the space to get quiet on a daily basis, these other 4 F's that we'll talk about, with fitness and family and friends and finance, I'm speaking from experience, there's going to be a rocky road there unless you get okay with yourself and in a place of inner peace. And by no stretch have I got it all figured out and do I have inner peace on a daily basis all day, every day. But for the most part, I do have a very balanced life. And when it does get rocky, and when I do have a perceived crisis, the fact that I can go back and have this baseline in this simple tool of daily meditation, it has been an absolute game changer. I've been doing it for 20 years, so for me it's part of my lifestyle, and I actually crave it if I don't get it. And it'll probably be a little bit uncomfortable at first if you don't have a practice now, but I will say that once you get into a groove, just like anything else, it's going to get much more comfortable, and you will start to see some incredible clarity and peace around not only your relationship with yourself, but that's going to carry into your family and your friends and your business and your wellness. So that is what the tool that I wanted to share with you on faith. It's so simple. It's called Simply Being. Download it, give it a try. You can always private message me if you're struggling or it's not jiving for you. But start with 5 minutes a day, and then you can build from there. The one rule that I glazed over is put your phone or your computer in airplane mode, or do not disturb when you're obviously having this quiet time. The last thing you want is text messages and phone ringing when you're trying to have that quiet space that you so much deserve. So let's look at the next one, which is family. I was raised in an Italian-Irish household in New Jersey, and there wasn't a day that went by where I was not surrounded by family, friends, cousins, aunts, uncles. Just a really, really blessed, loving, nurturing environment as I grew up in New Jersey. So for me, I was very fortunate to have that from day one. And I have parlayed that into my own family now. I have a beautiful wife and a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So for me, family is absolutely incredibly important. Quality time is the absolute core of healthy family relationships. And that ties back to our family board meetings, which I'll talk about just briefly, and give you, again, a tool that you can use immediately that has been a game changer, again, not only for us personally in our family, but for all of our clients and friends and family, all the way across the world, to be honest with you. So let's talk about quality time for a minute. In our family board meetings, we do these live retreats where we bring in busy entrepreneurs and professionals to have hyper-focused one-on-one attention with one of their children. And the one-on-one is the key element there, and the rule that I want to absolutely drive home to you. So if you're a family guy or a mom that has multiple children, let's talk about mini board meetings for a second. And this is something, again, that you can start doing at home right away. It's free, and you will see absolute incredible growth in depth in each one of these relationships with each one of your children. If any of the listeners are not parents, that's fine. You can do this with anyone you want to go deeper with, anyone you care about, family, friends. If you have elderly parents, which I do, I'm doing these mini board meetings, not only with my wife, but I'm doing it with my 3-year-old, 5-year-old. I've been doing it with my kids since they were born, and now I'm doing them with my elderly parents too. So here are the rules for the mini board meetings. They are, and give credit to my business partner Jim Shields, who came up with this system. A couple of simple rules. One-on-one, so pick one family member to start with. We always joke and say pick your favorite one. But you're going to know, jokes aside, who you'd like to start this exercise with. And it's fun and it's light. It should not be formal and filled with anxiety. It might be a little uncomfortable at first, but all it is really just going and having a good time with one of your loved ones and nurturing that relationship. So pick one. Every 90 days, put it in your calendar with that family member, and plan out the year with them. So you're going to have 4 dates with them, and the dates are going to be a minimum, absolute minimum, 4 hours at a clip. So I'm going to urge you to put it on your calendar and do it during the week and take a half a day off from work or school or whatever it is that you're dealing with. Because I'm here to tell you that the relationship that you're going to work on and nurture and love on is so much more important than any job or income or class or anything in your life for that matter. I mean, our relationships at the end of the day are all we have, right? Or I shouldn't say all we have, but I think a lot of people would agree is one of the most important things that we have. So get clear on your priorities, right? Remember, before we worry about what's next, let's figure out what's important. And this simple mini family board meeting is going to absolutely nurture and love on and deepen that particular relationship. So one-on-one, every quarter, every 90 days, put it on the calendar. Let your child or your loved one know that you're going to know how to communicate it to them because it's your family member or your loved one. But all it is, hey, I want to spend some one-on-one time. I absolutely love you. You know, we got busy lives, mom, dad's running around, brother and sister running in 5 different directions. Everyone's playing different sports. Whatever your situation is, you can relay that to your child and say, this is really just about me wanting to love on you and learn more about you and support you. And we're going to spend some, go have some fun and take dad or mom's going to take a half a day off and we're going to go just have fun. So sorry to repeat, but one-on-one, every 90 days, put it in the calendar, let the child know. Let the child pick the fun activity, and I prefer it to be outside. If you live in a really cold environment or something and you need to stay inside, that's fine, but find something that's fun, and here is the rule. No electronics, no TV, no computers, no telephone. Hyper-focus and sit down and have some one-on-one time. And then at the end of the date, or at the end of the 4-hour mini board meeting, as we call them, you're going to go ahead and do what we called a focused reflection. And that sounds formal and can be scary. Don't let it be. All it is just sit down with the child, maybe have lunch or dinner if it's at the end of the day, and say, hey, what did you learn about mom or dad? Or what did you learn about yourself? Or is there anything you'd like to share? And it really just opens up a line of communication with them. And while you're breaking bread, which is one of the easiest ways to have a conversation. And that simple rule is an absolute game changer. Like I said, I've been doing them with my children since they were born, even before they were verbal. And for me, I've taken the 4-hour window and I'm actually doing overnights with all of my loved ones one-on-one now. So taking my children down the beach one-on-one for an overnight, taking my mom away for an overnight, dad, brother, sister. I do them absolutely with my wife. I do them monthly with my wife. We do an overnight. So try that. It's a game changer for any relationship. And again, I'd be happy. You can always private message me if you want to talk further about our mini board meetings and things that you're dealing with in your family. So next one is fitness. We were born to move our bodies. We were born to have fun doing it. So in the book, let me start by saying fitness is not you going to the gym at 5 a.m. 5 days a week. If that's part of your fitness, then that's absolutely fantastic. I applaud you for that discipline. But when I say fitness, what I'm talking about is an overall wellness of both physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And for me, while we're talking about physical fitness, I have found, and I share in the book, that the gym doesn't work for me. I don't want to beat up or judge. My wife goes to the gym 5-6 days a week. She's really fit. She loves it. She craves it. For me, that would be painful. We live in Florida, and for me, I found a passion in the ocean, and that's a really, really good workout. And if there's no waves, then I've gotten into some training on long distance stand-up paddleboarding. So every day, no excuses. I can always get out on the water and get a sweat going and have a ton of fun doing it. I'm out in Mother Nature. I'm either catching waves or I'm training on the water, and we live in a beautiful environment. And that makes it very, very fun and sustainable for me. And that is the takeaway around fitness. Um, one of my favorite sayings around fitness, and I saw this at a red light driving one time on a bumper sticker, it said, if you don't take care of your body, where are you going to live? And, we can laugh at that, but the reality is that we're not cats and we do not have 9 lives. So, I think, tying back to, faith and spirituality, we're only given this gift of one body by God or whatever it is that you believe in. So I think that we should love and nurture it and keep it sustainable, and realize that it is temporary. We're given about 100 years on this planet, and why not make the best of it and nurture and love on our vessel that we're carrying around our beautiful spirits in. So the takeaway again around fitness is find something you're passionate about. For me, it's surfing. If for you, it's yoga or dance or basketball or whatever it is, ice hockey, especially for my Canadian listeners, then do that and get that into your daily rhythm of fitness. Because if it's not fun, I can tell you from experience, it's not going to be sustainable. Let's talk about friends for a minute. So we will become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And I go again into depth in the friends chapter. And I always like to give credit where credit is due. Taking a step back, actually, the 5 Fs was introduced to me 20 plus years ago from a great mentor of mine called Keith Cunningham. So thank you, Keith. I talk about him in the book. And this tool is, it's called the Rule of 5, and it's from another mentor called Jim Rohn, who unfortunately just passed away in the last year or two. But his legacy lives on, and his wisdom and his simplicity and the tools that he shares are phenomenal. So let's talk a minute about friends, because I think it's such a universal, important part of everyone's life. I think, unfortunately, with technology and the busier that we get, friends do fall to the wayside in our investment in the time with them. So let me share this tool with you. It's called the Rule of 5. There are 5 people in your life, hands down, that you are investing or spending your most amount of time with. It might be a very little amount of time, but I want to ask you to get a pen and paper. You're not going to have time to do it right now, but hopefully right after the call is over or later on today. Get a pen and paper, sit down, and write down the 5 most important, the 5 people that you are spending the most time with. They may not be the most important, but they're the ones that you are on average spending the most time with. And this is where the Rule of 5 comes in. I'm here to tell you that you will become the sum average of those people. You will start to walk like them, talk like them, take on their personalities. So the takeaway there is ask yourself the question, who are these 5 people? And do I want to become the sum average of these 5 people? Another question you can ask is definitely take a pen to paper and write down the names. Put it in your wallet, sit with it for a couple days, and go back and ask yourself, moving through each one of those names, do I feel energized, pumped, craving more time with these people? Are we laughing a lot? Are we having fun? I know it can't be all the time like that, but the reality is that our friendships are voluntary, so why not enjoy them to the fullest? And then ask yourself and go down the line with these 5 people that you have written down on this piece of paper. And I have it in my wallet. I've been carrying around my list for God knows how long. I got introduced to this years and years ago. And ask yourself that question. It's a hard question. Do I want to go deeper with these people? Do I want to invest more time? Do I want to start to walk and talk and act like these people? Do I feel energized? And if there's any inkling of a question mark or a doubt, which I can assure you there probably is going to be for the majority of people, I know there was for me, and I had to make some adjustments. And this is where healthy boundaries come in. Unfortunately, and it's a hard conversation. To begin with yourself, it's a hard conversation to have, and then starting to create some healthy boundaries if there are, God forbid, some people out of these top 5 people that you're spending the most time with that are not making you feel energized, and maybe you're feeling down or negative or drained after you spend time with them, and just start to create those healthy boundaries. I'm not telling you to, run up and tell them, thanks, no thanks, never talk to you again. Just start to create some healthy boundaries. You can do it in a loving, nurturing way, but hands down, you need to self-love and nurture yourself first, because the reality is you're only going to be able to give back to those friends and family what you have. So that's the rule of 5. It's a Jim Rohn tool. It's phenomenal, and again, I talk about it deep into the book. So let's look at the final F in finance. Once you understand that money is neutral and that the value is subjective, you're well on your way to a solid financial mindset. We've been running real estate businesses and board meetings for 20 plus years now. Real estate has been the cornerstone of our financial wealth and intelligence for the last 20 plus years. So it can be complicated or it can be simple. I like to simplify everything. In the real estate world, and honestly, I think the more I think about it, this is in any industry you're in. This is some Warren Buffett wisdom. Rule number 1 is don't lose money, and rule number 2 is don't forget rule number 1. And he also talks about price is what you pay, but value is what you get. And I have in here that value is subjective. So I feel and know from experience that whatever value that you put out in your services and products and into the world, and whatever problems you're solving, is how you're going to be compensated. There's always going to be lag involved, and lag is the old you reap what you sow. I think whatever industry you're in, it's never a get-rich-quick thing, especially with real estate. If anyone's invested in real estate, they know that it's a long game. But once you have some systems in place and have created some leverage or passive income, it really allows you to take a step back. And to be honest with you, that's how this whole project of what matters most in writing the book and the 5 Fs, through my real estate business, it gave me some space and some time to be able to sit down and really nurture and go through this creative process of putting this book together and then sharing it with everybody. So I could talk about finance and money and business for days on end, but just a couple of I think, cool little things to think about that, again, are either my own or from mentors that we've spent a lot of time with. This one actually is, I believe, talked about from Keith Cunningham, the same gentleman that introduced me to the 5 Fs, so thank you again, Keith. And that is, you can't do a good deal with a bad guy. So what does that mean? To make it tangible for you, in our real estate business, we have, in the last 20 years, we've had literally thousands of deals come across our desk, right? And we've then presented deals by people that the numbers looked phenomenal. It looks like a good deal. It looked like a great deal. It looked like a home run. But something in my gut was telling me that the guy on the other side of the table that was presenting the deal or wanting to approach me as a partnership, something was off, something wasn't right. Not necessarily that the guy was evil, but it was a gut check thing, and I think everyone can relate to that gut check thing. So the saying is, you can't do a good deal with a bad guy, and I know that sounds it sounds almost obvious and too simple, but I can't tell you that always having that idea in the back of my mind has saved me a lot of headache and probably millions of dollars over the last 20 years by saying no thank you. Even though the numbers looked great on paper and the deal worked on paper, a lot of times we pushed back and said thank you, but no thank you. And again, it could be done professionally or lovingly. Not here to beat people up or judge, but I am here to try to take care of myself and love on and nurture myself so that I can, again, bring all that forward and pay it forward into my businesses, my family and friends, and my wellness as well. So that is the wrap up for the 5 Fs and in particular finance. So again, before we worry about what's next, let's figure out what matters most for you. And in the book, there is a really, really simple tool. Honestly, you can get through it in about 5 minutes. and it will help you get crystal clear on your priorities around these 5Fs. And then there's a second part of that tool that's very easy and user-friendly. It might take you about a half hour to think through. And then asking yourself the question on how you're investing your time. But I'm here to tell you with humble confidence that once you're crystal clear on your priorities, you're going to invest your time accordingly. So really, really excited to share with you. If there's any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat box. And Jennifer on my team, for anybody that is on the call physically today or anyone that registered, she is going to follow up with you and send you a copy of the PowerPoint, a recording of the webinar, and also a link to the book. So I said earlier that the book is just out for a week now. So grateful, so honored and humbled for, it's gotten into the hands of over 1,000 people in the last few days. We are giving away a free copy of it on Amazon. And in the follow-up, you'll be able to just click that link. That promo for the free book is only running through tomorrow, which is May 12th. And then after that, obviously, you can pay for it on Amazon as well. But I do want to give you that gift. So if you like some of the things that you heard, if you'd like to go deeper, if you are a parent and you do have a child and you'd like to talk more about our retreats or our family board meetings, you can take a look at that site as well. It's familyboardmeetings.com. And you can also get a free download of the book at my website, which is brianscrone.com. So don't see any more questions right now coming through. So I think we'll probably wrap it up. And it's been an honor to be with you guys today. I want to thank you so much for your time, and can't wait to go deep with you into the 5Fs and help you figure out what matters most for you. Again, this is all about you and me. Would love the opportunity to, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting a question coming through. One of the questions is the book does not work on Amazon.ca, and I got that earlier today, and I apologize for that. I had a good friend who has a very large network in California send it out for me, and she got some feedback, and I'm a little bit confused by that, but we will resolve it because it's actually in #1 position in Canada right now, so I know that for a fact that it is working. It may just be a glitch today, so I appreciate that question. We are going to get it resolved, and if you private message me, I'll be sure by the end of day tomorrow, because the book is still available today and tomorrow, to get you a copy. And if you could private message me with your mailing address, I'd actually be happy to put a copy in the mail to you as well. So we will get that resolved. Sorry for that, all my Canadian friends. I love you guys, and so appreciative of the book doing so well up there too. So a little confused by it's not working up there because the book's doing really well, but it could just be a tech thing on Amazon, but we are aware of it and getting it resolved. And I'm not able to see the question box. Mikey T, I like that question, brother. Here's the answer to that. The question is how do you stay centered and zen when you're driving in Philadelphia? Here's the answer, bro. Get out of Philadelphia and move back to Florida, where we drive slow and stable and steady. I appreciate that question. I always like to have a good laugh, and it's so good to see a great friend chiming in there. But thank you so much. Oh, here we go. I got some feedback from one of my Canadian friends, Michelle. I was able to get a copy off of the .ca, change from .com, and it should come through. So I guess what we're saying here, Michelle, is if they just go to Amazon.com or try Amazon.com.ca, she's getting it to work. So hopefully you, my Canadian friends, are able to get it through, and you can always reach out to us in a private message, and we'll make sure we get you a copy. I love the feedback. I love the good laugh there. Thanks, Mike. Get out of Philly and you'll become Zen immediately. And just an honor and a joy to be with you guys today. Again, my team will follow up with you after this. If you're registered, you're automatically going to get copy and a recording of the call and the PowerPoint, and we will make sure that you do get a free copy of the book, especially if you're having any tech problems with that. So I don't see any other questions coming through. It's been a joy spending the afternoon with you guys. I appreciate you taking the time out of the middle of your day, and I look forward to seeing everybody soon. Okay, ciao.